Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. We're here live doing the Red Devil Daily with all things Manchester United in the past 24 hours. A lot of news coming out today. More specifically, the big talk and maybe the big questions is apparently maybe Ruben Amorim will not be getting any January signings from Manchester United and INEOS. Are they lacking funds? Are they scrambling for some funds for Ruben Amorim for January? We're going to get into that. As you can see up on the screen next to me, this came out from Sky Sports, Sky Keva to be more exact, and it came out and said Ruben Amorim has not made any requests about buying players in January, including Portugal-based players like Gyokeres, Quenda, and Araujo. And to follow that up, he followed it up by saying Ruben Amorim is focused on working with and developing the players in his Manchester United squad. Now, is this some sort of PR spin kind of from the club that Ruben Amorim is happy to not bring anybody in really and just work with the squad he's got because he thinks that he can improve them so much that we don't really need January signings? Or are Manchester United lacking some funds and we don't really have money available, but they don't really want to put that out there because it's embarrassing for the club? We're going to get into that. There's a lot more stuff that also come out. More so looking at summer signings for the club, transfer rumors, and other topical stuff for Manchester United. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to break it down. We're going to analyze it. We're going to ask questions like we usually do. But before we do, please smash the like button for me. If you're watching this after it's aired, please smash the like button. It takes 2 seconds of your time and it massively helps the channel out because it pushes our video out there and we get more views from it. So if you want to help us grow and you enjoyed the content, then please do that because we greatly appreciate it. And we thank you for doing that as well. And if you enjoy the content, subscribe, hit the notification bell, the little bell icon, so you know when we go live. We go live weekly on a weekly basis, and we're live after every match doing what we call the Red Devil Recap, where we recap the matches of Manchester United. We break them down, tactical analysis. We have good discussions about it, so get involved in that. But yeah, let's go straight into basically, you know, these updates that came out of this, and it came out today. You know, one of the players that have been linked with Manchester United that is a current Sporting player, he's a young player, he is an academy player, I think he's about 17 years old. His name is Giovani Quenda. Now, I like this player. I think he's a good player. I've seen, you know, from the couple of games, the few games that I've watched a Sporting play, I've seen that he is a very good, talented young player. And I would like him to come to Manchester United very much. I think we could use him very much. He plays on the wing. We could use, you know, a new winger, considering that we got rid of Jadon Sancho, and considering that Anthony doesn't seem like he's going to continue at Manchester United and has been a flop. And there's question marks over Marcus Rashford. If he's going to continue and if his future is, you know, if he's going to be a Manchester United player, because he's not playing very good at the moment compared to Alejandro Garnacho and Diallo, and we need some we need some competition for those young players. You know, we need some more competition for Garnacho and Diallo, because for me, they've solidified their spots right now based off of their performances. They should be the two starting, you know, from that winger pool. Rashford and Anthony are clearly you know, bench players right now, players to come off of the bench. And until they prove otherwise, then that's how it should go. But, you know, even when they're coming off of the bench, Marcus Rashford and Anthony got the start yesterday, but they're not having any impact. They're not really providing much in the match. They're not really pushing, you know, the likes of Garnacho or Diallo for their starting spot. So I think, you know, Garnacho and Diallo, there's a spot for them to become quite comfortable, which you don't want, because we need high competition in all areas of the pitch, like between our players, to push them even further and make them, you know, grow further. So I think Giovani Quenda is definitely a young, exciting prospect. He's very good. My friend at Sporting does not want us to take him. He keeps getting mad every time I send him links. You know, I send him links to to the news that, you know, we are well, one of the pieces that came out was Samuel Lucker said Manchester United have met with Giovani Quenda's new agent Jorge Mendes. Jorge Mendes obviously being the Portuguese master you know, agent for a lot of Portuguese players and other players, of course, but high profile. But he is a high profile agent, Jorge Mendes. He has a very good relationship with Manchester United. He's had a very good relationship for a very long time. He's gotten us many, many players. And he is now the new agent of Giovani Quenda. And we have met with Jorge Mendes to discuss potentially maybe Giovani Quenda coming to Manchester United in the summer. So, you know, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. I would definitely go for him. I think he's a very young, exciting prospect, one that I would like to come to the club. And yeah, we could do that. Stephanie is in here, a wonderful moderator. Big up yourself, Stephanie. How you doing? How you feeling? Hope everything is well. One of the other pieces of news that we need to talk about that is more on the, I guess, technical side of things, that involves coaches. Lines is in here as well. Lines, how you doing? One of the things that we need to talk about, I guess, more on coaches. This has come out early in today, and it said that Ruben Amorim has appointed separate coaches to work with Manchester United defenders, midfielders, and strikers. So he's appointed his coaches or certain coaches, other coaches that have that are still at Manchester United, they're mostly background coaches. You know, the names don't get too mentioned enough, but there's obviously a ton of staff other than the ones that Ruben Amorim bring with him. You know, Manchester United is a big organization. We have tons and tons of coaches. They're just really overlooked in the media type of sense, but there's tons of personnel there. And apparently it's said that this has come from the Telegraph Football, that he has appointed these separate coaches to work with defenders, midfielders, and strikers. So if you play a little bit of Football Manager, you would know that, you know, you have attacking midfielders, you have attacking coaches. I said attacking midfielders, attacking coaches, midfielder coaches, defensive coaches. You have goalkeeper specialist coaches. You got general coaches that do a little bit of everything. You got set piece specialist coaches. So there's all types of coaches. He only bring, you know, 5 or 6 people with him. There's probably another, you know, 20 there that are in the background that nobody really talks about. And the follow-up to that, coming from the Telegraph, which we all love the Telegraph because they seem to be the most reputable, right, is Amorim's approach is seen as a modern way of coaching compared to the traditional method of a first-team coach overseeing entire sessions with the whole squad as they prepare for matches. So this seems to be a little bit of, you know, the whole thing of why he is called the head coach and he is not the manager. You know, I think we're all aware and accustomed to, you know, especially somebody like Sir Alex Ferguson and even people that have followed Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United. They would come in and they oversaw the whole thing. The defenders, the goalkeepers, the midfield, the forwards. They did the whole thing. And now it seems like it's being a little bit more compartmentalized. And the thing behind this is that it should help Ruben Amorim out in the long run so that he can be more focused on specific areas and doesn't have to do the entire thing. Many other teams already do this. You know, Pep Guardiola does this at Manchester City. While he is very involved, he doesn't trust his people to kind of cut this up, break it up for him, make it easy for him. They report to him on certain things. He's obviously there and sees what's going on as well, but he can focus and more effort and time onto certain things that he believes is more important and that he holds true to himself. You know, and this is done at other clubs as well. So these things are important. You know, and they followed this up by saying Ruben Amorim has appointed specialized coaches for each key department of his Manchester United team in a bid to kickstart their season. Amorim has assigned members of his staff to work with defenders, midfielders, and forwards. This is coming from Mike McGrath specifically, so it goes hand in hand with the Telegraph. In one of the major changes from Erik ten Hag's work on the training pitches at Carrington. So yeah, that to me is pretty interesting. Steph saying, we'll have to wait and see what happens in January. Well, I'm going to circle back to that, so don't worry about that. But we will have to wait and see. And I'm not too worried about that. I'm not too worried about that. I'll explain why. But I want to hit a couple topical things first, and then we'll circle back to the whole January thing as well. So don't worry about that. Lions is saying, isn't Dalot just the best? I love him so much. Well, if Grace was here, she'd give you a big hug and a kiss for that comment. But yes. So to just follow up a little bit into the news, because one of the things that Manchester United are also doing is that they are closely monitoring, and we've mentioned this man before. Well, this kid, I would say, is oh, this is a different kid. No, it's the same kid we mentioned before. We are closely monitoring, apparently, Monitoring FC, Manchester United, specialized, born and bred in monitoring. Give me a second, just gotta do something. All right. We are monitoring Zver Halsith Naipan. He's been on United's radar for a while now, which is true because we've talked about him in previous shows and for quite a few months now as well. And sources insist if the correct opportunity occurs, then Manchester United will pounce. INEOS do not want to miss out on this young player. So another young player, another 17-year-old being linked to Manchester United. And these are all important, you know? Lines is calling me out, is giving me credit for compartmentalize. Yeah, we got some big words in there. Don't worry about it. We keep them for special occasions, you know? But yes, there's this other kid, Zvir Halsith Naipan. And I just want to accurately put this out because I'm pretty sure he is a midfielder, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he is a midfielder, so I want to get that accurate. He is a 17-year-old midfielder. He plays in Norway. He is Norwegian. He plays for Rosenborg, right? Right now he has 27 appearances in the Norwegian league. He has 7 goals, 7 assists. He mainly plays central midfielder. He can also play center forward / attacking midfielder. So his current market value on transfer market is about 11 million euros. And yeah, I've known about this kid as well. He's a he's a highly rated youngster. Let's put it that way. He's one of these wonder kids that you go and you sign in Football Manager for sure. There's high potential, and doesn't cost you that much money, right? And I've known about him for quite some time. Obviously, I've never watched him play because I don't watch the Norwegian league. I'm not gonna watch the Norwegian league. I'm not a scout. That's not my job. You know, the scouts are there. They're there. That's what they get paid for. But I've heard his name, I've heard about him, and listen, I'm all for these kids because I think you could get them for fairly cheap, right? Compared to other players, and we should get them when they're at teams like this before they go to an Everton, an Aston Villa, a Leicester City, a Brighton Hove Albion, and then they cost way much more. You take them, they have a high ceiling, right? The potential is a big factor in price. You can bring them to Manchester United. You can try and develop them. 17 is a very young age. You can still sell them 2-3 years on. You could either recoup all the money, or you could recoup, or you can make a little bit extra on top of them, right? So I like these signings very much. I want Manchester United to do more of them. I don't think we've done enough of them in the past, and I think it's something very important that we do going forward. So yeah, I like this idea of getting this player in, for sure. If you like statistics, we got statistics. But before I get into statistics, Stephanie's saying Amorim is the dentist and the hygienist and will hopefully make all United fans smile again. I like that one. I like that one, Steph. Steph saying Scrabble, big words, score incoming. Yeah, I usually You can't have any fun nowadays. It's too easy to cheat. You play Scrabble online on your phone. You start looking up words because you get frustrated. I mean, back in the day, you really had to know the words, right? Nowadays, it's just like you go find a word after you get pissed for 20 minutes because you can't figure out how to get the highest score, right? So, and Steph also saying Everton Sunday, another Branthwaite audition. Well, maybe very so. But, you know, Branthwaite audition, and I like that you put that out there, because Branthwaite audition shouldn't be against Manchester United specifically, right? I mean, we're not the standard anymore, per se, right? We're in 12th place. We're trying to find our identity. We're trying to find our place. We're trying to find our feet. So, a performance against Manchester United obviously is going to, you know, make headlines, and it's going to run things wild on social media, and people are going to be pushing for him to come even more if he has a game and a half against us, right? But, you know, we're not really the standard. I think the audition for Branthwaite is a match week in, week out against all Premier League opposition. How do you play against the big teams? How do you play against the small teams? How do you play against teams that are far more attacking? How do you perform against teams that are the top attacking teams in the Premier League? How do you perform against teams that are tougher in defense? Obviously, he's being a defense, but you know, I think those things. I think his audition is week in, week out in the Premier League. I think that's what his audition should be. It should be week in, week out over a season. It shouldn't be specifically more so against Manchester United. We are not the standard. Ironically, we're both 12th in the Premier League and Europa League. Exactly. So, if anything, he would just slot right in at this point. And, you know, if he's doing all right at Everton, then he should do all right at Manchester United, right? But, like, you know, for me, I think we get a little bit carried away. I think back in the day, it made a lot of sense because we were the standard, right? We were the top. We were the champions. And if you come and play against us and you show us an unbelievable game, well, we're a hard team to beat. We're the cream of the crop. So if you could perform like that against us, then it used to make a little bit more sense, right? But not anymore. So it doesn't make too much sense to me anymore to be like, well, he had a game against us. I mean, bloody, you know, we've seen bloody championship teams come and have a game against us. I mean, look at yesterday. Look at Portugal-based. They gave us a bloody game yesterday against us, and we were home at Old Trafford. Should we go sign some of their players? Like, you know, should we go sign the guy that put the ball in the top bins? Like, you know, should we be looking at him? I don't think so. Not anymore. You know, once upon a time when we played Sporting and Cristiano Ronaldo absolutely ripped us apart and nobody knew his name, you know, and we were like, well, who the hell is that? Because that's a kid. He just outplayed, you know, champions and made them look like children. And we should probably sign him. But, you know, these sets of players, they're not champions. They're not nothing, right? So somebody comes and plays against us and rips us open. I mean, it's nothing special anymore, right? So, I think people should be a little bit more. I mean, I know social media runs wild with all types of things, and it's like the wild west out there. But you know, for people should just keep in mind that, you know, that we're not the standard anymore. So before we get carried away with people having performances against us and auditions, I mean, yes, it's very good because you can watch him, right? You're watching United, you're watching Everton. A lot of United fans maybe don't watch other Premier League games. Maybe they just watch Manchester United games. So it's a good thing to kind of scout and see the player, but I don't think it should be the behold and end or you know, the determining factor. The determining factor should be how he's performing week in and week out in the Premier League, and compare it to other, you know, centre-back prospects out there that we could sign and how they're performing, you know, basically, in the top 5 leagues of Europe. But if you like a little bit of statistics, Manchester United's win yesterday was the club's highest completed passes, 723, had 70% plus possession, which was 72.4%, we registered 20 plus shots and had 40 plus touches in the opposition's box, 47, in a major European match since 2003 and 2004. So Ruben Amorim ball. Ruben Amorim ball. I mean, I know it's against Bodo Glimt, but hey, we had Erik ten Hag and we couldn't win a damn match in about 2 years in Europe. So, listen, there is, you know, the little bit of the base, the little bit of the foundation bubbling there at what Ruben Amorim and what we want under Ruben Amorim and how we're supposed to play. You know, we're at the starting point. It's a starting base, and I will take it because he's come in. He's had 1 week to really have all these players together, right? You can't do training as much as you can do in preseason. And you're playing a European match where you need 3 points against a team that actually made it a game against us to a certain point where they counterattacked us and they scored 2 goals, right? And with his style, that will happen. But the point of his style is also a little bit similar to Sir Alex Ferguson. You win by scoring the goals. You win by outscoring your opponents. You win by taking a little bit of risk. You're going to concede a goal? Sure. You're going to concede 2? Sure. That's why you score 4. That's why you score 3. It's a little bit similar, his style, in that way. And as the statistics determine from yesterday's match, you know, we completed 723 passes. We had 70+% possession. They still managed to score 2 goals on us. We still registered 20 plus shots, and we had 40 touches, 40 plus touches, 47 to be exact, in the opposition's box. So, you know, that is a little bit of what the Ruben Amorim ball is supposed to be like, and we're going to grow with that. So, Lion saying, poor O'Shea, he got torn a new one during the match by Ronaldo. I remember watching that game in Eurosport. Yeah, he did. He wasn't ready for it. It wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean? He was not ready for that. You know, I don't think any of them were really ready for it. But John O'Shea thought he was going to go out there, kind of have probably an easier game. And Ronaldo, you know, I don't think John O'Shea slept well that night. Because, you know, Sir Alex probably went over to Cristiano, gave him some credit, and then ripped John O'Shea a new one for getting embarrassed by a boy, right? Even though Sir Alex knew in the back of his head that, you know, that kid's got some special talent, he's got something special about him, but he didn't tell John O'Shea that. But they all knew anyway. And Steph saying Gyokeres struggled against Arsenal's centre-back partnership. He did. But, you know, also the thing about that is that, you know, the thing about Sporting now is you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt now, because they have a new guy there. That guy is from their youth academy setup in some sort. I think he was like the under-23 coach or something. And he's not Ruben Amorim. So he can play the same formation. He can play the same exact tactics as Ruben Amorim, but he ain't Ruben Amorim. So, you know, you're going to see a little bit of what I would assume to be a drop-off in Sporting. I watched that match, and while he did struggle, I mean, that Sporting team looked completely flat compared to what I was seeing them and how they were playing when Ruben Amorim was there. You know, I really questioned their mental at that time. They didn't look up for the match. They didn't look like they just looked like they were really missing something, and I could only put it down to Ruben Amorim no longer being there, and they're playing a big match against Arsenal, and they went down early, and it was a little bit different to when they played City and Ruben Amorim was there. So, you know, you know, and he might struggle against that as well. But, you know, Gyokeres, he might have struggled, right? But the whole thing is he's still performing the best out of Europe, and I think maybe it might go down now because, again, as good as Gyokeres has been, Gyokeres, listen, nobody's going to be Ronaldo and nobody's going to be Messi. Nobody's just going to take on teams by themselves, put the whole thing on their back. Like those things will never happen again. None of the players that perform well in current times right now, none of them do it. They need a team and they need a system to perform with them and to help them to be that great, right? So, you know, if the rest of Sporting is playing like shit, Gyokeres isn't gonna, he's not gonna take the ball and bypass Arsenal's, you know, defenders and score 3 goals by himself like Messi might have done or Cristiano might have done in the past, right? Like that just doesn't happen. So, you know, those things do happen, but I think it's going to be interesting to see because I do predict a little bit of a Sporting drop off, a little bit of a Sporting downfall going forward because I just don't think you can go, you know, I just don't think this manager is going to be able to replicate what Ruben Amorim has done. And therefore, I think player performances will suffer. And I think Gyokeres' performances will suffer to a certain extent. I think he'll still score goals, but I don't think it'll probably be to the rate that he has been scoring goals. And then I'm going to be interested into seeing the discussion around Gyokeres because when he scores goals and they perform like that, he's God, right? And he's the second coming of whatever you want to say he is. But when there's a drop-off in the team, and therefore there will be a drop-off in him, I think a lot of people are going to question, well, maybe we shouldn't really go get him. Maybe he won't be fit for the Premier League. He won't fit the Premier League in a certain way like that. Like, you know. So, yeah. Aventino saying, yo, brother, I had a dream that I would fall in love if Ruben did an experiment with Xerxes in an unorthodox position. Please don't fire shots at me. Well, big up yourself, Aventino. Grace is here. She's saying, big up all the peasants. Or pheasants. I think those are both words. Either way, peasants and pheasants. Big up everybody. Grace is in here. Grace, you know what? See, you usually hear early a little bit, right? And you missed a beautiful comment by Lions, and I said you would give him a big hug and a kiss. And he said in the beginning of the show that he said, isn't Dalot just the best? With an exclamation point. And said, I love him so much with an exclamation point. And you missed that, Grace. You missed that, Grace. So, you were missing that. I mean, Lions was here bigging up your man. Not pheasant pluckers, yeah. So, Lions saying, sound like you might have been firing shots at Amorim, Aventino. No. Why are you lying to me? I'm not lying. I don't think the chat pops up for you, if you missed it, right? I'm not lying to you, I swear. I swear. Whoever else was in here, Lions, tell her what you said. Tell her what you said, Lions. Tell her what you said. I didn't lie. I don't lie. But yes, so Manchester United, and other news, Manchester United have started contract extension talks with Amad Diallo. They want to keep him long term, which I think we can all be happy about because I think Amad Diallo is one of our better players right now. Fantastic. And he's playing very, very well. And he's very exciting to watch as well. You know, it's not just he's playing good, but he's exciting. Lions is throwing me under the bus. He's throwing me under the bus. Why are you doing that to me? You fake news. Lions is fake news. Fake news. Oh, Grace sees it. See, there we go. Are they drunk? They might be. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Lions there. He might be drunk. He might have inhaled some things. No, I'm not sure. Maybe he's had an epiphany, a revelation. You know, when he put his head on the pillow last night and he woke up. Maybe this is just an alternate universe that we've woken up into. I'm not sure. But yes, Amad Diallo contract extension talks. So very, very good on that part. Let me see if I grab some more stuff. Ruben Amorim has done a little bit of a presser. He's had a dream. Lions says, I have a dream. Dalot rhymes with Merlot. Absolutely, it does. Fine wine. Fine wine. I like Merlot. I like the red wines. Not a fan of the white wines. The red wines I like. Merlot, Cabernet. Um, what's the other one? I don't drink it too much, but mostly Merlot, Cabernet. Very, very good. Um, I'll get in trouble, but I tease some of my Shiraz. People realize they can't push their luck with me. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I joke with some of my friends, right? As men do, as boys do. We were out to dinner, right? In when I was in Malta, and a couple of us we got a glass of red wine, or we ordered a bottle. And then one of our friends, he went to go get white wine, and I yelled at him, and I said, white wine is for women. I said, you get red wine like a man. And everybody started, getting into a giant thing, because one of them was pushing back, and he's like, that's not true. And I was obviously joking. I was making a joke, right? But it's only because I don't drink white wine. So, I said red wine. I like red wine. I don't drink white wine. And rosé is okay. But like white, I won't drink it. So, but I was joking with them, and then it turned into this giant it turned into this giant like discussion. Everybody started arguing. There was people on my side, there was people against me, saying that's ridiculous and preposterous, but it was hilarious. Well, they can take jokes. You know what it was, though? It was just like I said it in a manner where it was like hard to tell I was joking, because I said it seriously, but I was being a little bit facetious about it. You know what I mean? So I said it in a serious matter on purpose, because I knew that things would happen. You know what I mean? But then obviously I had to tell them, like, no, obviously I'm joking. Like, you can drink whatever you want, but I was like, I say that because I drink red and I don't like white. So like, so it was just really funny. But Alien Tenno saying, big up RDE and chat. Big up yourself, Alien Tenno. Malacia had a good game last night, considering he hasn't kicked the ball since May 2023. Well, I'm glad you come with that perspective, because, and I understand what you mean by that, and I do agree, and I to a certain extent, right? But like, I think he struggled, right? But in the overall picture, right? And he did get skinned, and it was his fault for the goal. But in the overall picture, considering he didn't play 590 days, like 18 months, right? Like, he had a good 45 minutes for somebody that hasn't played. But up to the standards that we need and want, he obviously struggled. But I'm glad that you came here and put it in you're looking at it in the more positive light, because the guy hasn't played, and it was his first 45 minutes, so it was just good to see him back out on the pitch. And I don't think anybody should be like, I don't think United fans should be out there criticizing him too heavily. I don't think anybody should be like really saying like, he was bad and this and that. Like, listen, the guy hasn't played, and I said it on the watch along yesterday. If you missed it, wink wink, some of the people in this chat. But yes, I said it in the watch along yesterday. Somebody said that, he was struggling and maybe he should be taken out. And I was like, yeah. I was like, fair enough. And I was like, maybe we shouldn't have started him. Maybe we should have threw him on 20 minutes left in the match so that it would be more balanced out. But, if you don't do something, whatever you do in life, right? If you skip rocks as a hobby, and you don't skip rocks for 590 days in a row, when you go to skip rock, you're not going to skip rocks as good as if you were skipping rocks every week for those 590 days, right? It doesn't matter what it is that you do, but like, you're obviously going to not be on as top as your game. It's just literally impossible. It doesn't matter if you're a professional, not a professional, whatever it is. Even me, you know, when I was doing multiple shows a week of this, I was a lot more comfortable. The first week that I took off the week and I did the one show on a Sunday, I felt sort of out of place. I felt sort of strange to doing it. You know, I didn't feel as comfortable as I did previously. So, you know, it is just like that. Like, it is just a, you know, it is just a thing. There's nothing you can do about it. But that will come with time. He'll clean it up. I'm sure he will. And he showed some good things in the match as well. So their winger was fast. He was fast, and he was just flat-footed, and he was, and he has the task and he to get the winger if he was not late. Yeah, that's all it was. It's just like match sharpness and a little bit of, you know, probably fitness as well. You know, he's not up to speed. That's all it is. Wine tasting with subscribers stream tomorrow. we should do that one day. Need cheese and biscuits. Biscuits? I know about the cheese, but biscuits? Biscuits go with that? I don't know. I'm not a wine concierge, aficionado. I know about the wine and cheese, right? Usually they have like crackers or something. Biscuits, I'm not. I don't think I've ever really heard. But no drugs, Grace. No drugs, Grace. Only if they're prescription and you need them. Okay? Those are the only drugs that are okay. If you need them for your health. No drugs. And grapes. Yes. Crackers, yes. Alien saying he was at the game. Were you at the game? Oh. Well, I'm happy they won for you. And how was it? In general. How was the atmosphere? How was all the things? Malacia had a better 45 minutes than Dalot. Well, Grace is she's not gonna like you for that one, Alien. But, yeah. Who is fully foot? There's something to talk about. Well, I think you make a very good point, actually, because, you know, Dalot did struggle, and I did say that, you know, Dalot is out of form, and I will put all my money on Dalot to rediscover his form, because I think we've seen this before, where Dalot gets very, very hot, and he plays absolutely excellent, and then he does lose a little bit of form, which happens to all players anyway. You know, and I think just right now he's a little bit out of form. He makes some very questionable decisions and loses the ball a lot. In areas that I don't like him losing the ball. But I think he'll tighten that up. I'm not concerned about Dalot like that, because I think Dalot is a very good player. He's just a bit out of form at this moment. But I think you make a very good point that, you know, for somebody that hasn't played for not 590 days, he did have a lot of better actions, you know, in that 45-minute period than Dalot did, just when on the ball. You know, the only thing was Dalot didn't get skinned and you know, was at fault for necessarily a goal. He almost gave up a whole goal by giving away the ball in that bad position that he did, but prescriptions off the books too. The chat's going crazy today. It's a Friday, that's why. Alien is a lifelong season ticket holder. Well, there you go. I think he did mention that one time. I had a feeling. So yeah. Which big up to you as well. That must be awesome. I wish. If I lived near or around the area, I would definitely be a season ticket holder, and I would definitely be there at every match. But for me to be a season ticket holder and live in New York would kind of be insane, because I would have to literally fly every week. Or just live in the UK, but I don't know what I would do in the UK. So, Lions says, no, we love Dalot today. I think Lions has hit his head somewhere. Lions, did you hit your head yesterday somewhere after the stream? Every day is Dalot day. If I ever meet Dalot, I'd give him the best 5 minutes of his life. The chat's gone mental. The chat's gone mental today. Dalot had a trademark move on the left to beat defenders. He got to change it up because he will get cooked. Running forward, Dalot looked pretty decent, to be fair. Well, he always usually does. And I don't think that's really the issue, right? I don't think the issue with Dalot is really going forward. The issue with Dalot is when he's coming to provide the support out on the wing, and he's got to make those 1-2 passes to kind of play out of the back, and he's messing those up a lot, and he's losing the ball a lot, and he's giving bad passes. You know, the one he gave to Bruno yesterday that keeps sticking out in my mind was an absolute hospital pass to Bruno Fernandes, and Bruno was never, you know, he was always going to lose that ball because it's just not the pass that you make when your teammate is marked like that, and you're gonna lose it. So, um, so yeah. Alien saying Delap is garbage. He'll be gone next season. Guy goes AWOL all the time. Well, I don't know if he'll be about if he'll be gone. I think he has a little bit of credit in the bank right now. With that, I think somebody that's more on that spectrum that I would put is somebody like Marcus Rashford. Per se, Alien. I think Marcus Rashford is more in that camp. I think somebody more like an Anthony is definitely in that camp. You know what I mean? I think those players are, and certainly Anthony, because at least Rashford's done some things for the club for the time that he's been here, right? Anthony has done absolutely nothing. So I think a player like Anthony that plays as bad as Anthony, that has provided nothing as Anthony, I think certainly fits into that slot of more of like he is, if you were going to say garbage, um, and goes AWOL. Uh, I think Grace deleted that. Yeah. Grace has deleted that message. She's deemed it as unacceptable for this chat. You're gonna get timed out, Alien. um, but speaking on Delot's actually had some comments, and Ruben Amorim has had some comments. So let's get into that. Because he did do a presser for Everton, right? So let's get into that stuff. Real quick. So Ruben Amorim on Everton, he said, and this was probably, I think this was the first thing he said and came out and said, he said, I expect to win. It's going to be a different match with a lot of fighting, long balls, second balls, a quality coach that understands the league and the moment of the opponent. And I think he's talking about long balls, second balls, because Dyche ball. And I wish I could do an impression of Dyche, kind of like what Goldbridge does, because I think it's funny. But I can't do that shit. Well, I've never attempted to do it, so I don't know how to do it. I would have to study his voice a little bit. But yeah, Dyche, you know, with his long balls and all that good stuff. So you know, I think he understands that very well, and the dynamic and the type of game. I think it's going to be, like you said, I think it's going to be a lot of fighting because of the long balls, the aerial balls, and you're gonna have to fight. We got to fight for those second balls. We got to win those second balls. We're gonna have to win the aerial duels, the aerial battles, to really have control of that game, and to win that match. So, um, Delot is a utility player, but not as good as John O'Shea or even Clayton Blackmore back in the day. Says Stephanie with the laughing emoji. The line saying I'm going back. I'm going to be Switzerland on Delot when Grace is around. She has the power. She's got the power. She's got the power. She's got the power. Listen, you guys are the ones that you told me to give her that power. Stephanie also has the power. So you know that's, you know, if it ever becomes a problem, that's on you guys, not me, because we did this as a community. The community gave her the power, so just remember that. Remember that. Remember what you did to yourselves. No, but I'm joking. But Ruben Amorim continued by saying, we need to have the ball because we have a short time to recover. We need to rotate the team. So I'm hoping for a win and to see different things in my team and to improve like we did from Ipswich to now. How long is the timeout? I don't know, to be honest. Um, Very good question. I, if you put the user in timeout, if you hit timeout, maybe it gives you an option for a time. I'm not sure because I've never timed anybody out yet. Believe it or not. But I believe there are different levels to that. So, like Stephanie is saying. But let me get back to this. So Diogo Dalot has spoken on Ruben Amorim and says he's very powerful. We have to rotate him sometimes because he always looks fresh. But he's not like that. He's not a machine. I think he plays better on the right, and we will manage to put him there. And he's a very good player. Oh, I'm sorry, Ruben Amorim on Delap. I had that backwards. Wow. I don't know what the hell I was reading. Ruben Amorim on Delap. He said he's a very powerful. We have to rotate him sometimes because he always looks fresh, but he's not like that. He's not a machine. Grace would disagree. I think he plays better on the right. I'd probably agree with that. Grace, what do you think? I think Grace said that yesterday that he's not a left. He shouldn't be playing on the left. He should be playing on the right, and we will manage to put him there. He's a very good player. So, Grace saying Amorim better put Dalot back on the right. Well, that's what he's hinting at. So we'll see. You know, and rotation is obviously going to be key, and I think rotation is going to be key for the whole squad going forward. And I think it's important, and you got to get the rotation correct anyway. So yeah. Ray is in here as well. Ray saying Dalot play on the left, but he is a right fullback. Well, he can technically play there. He's played there before. He played there when he went to AC Milan. Even Mazzawari can play on the left, technically, and he is technically a right back, and he is right-footed. So you can technically do these things. Maybe some players are a little bit better than others, and maybe Dalot is obviously more comfortable because he's on the right. And he's right-footed, and therefore it'll be easier for him to make those passes. Because I do understand that when you are a right-footed player, because I used to play on the wings, along with central midfielder, and it used to not bother me as much because I actually liked certain aspects of being right-footed and playing on the left wing. But when you check in, right, and you're a right-footed player and you're on the left and you're on the line, you really have to square your body the whole way, and your options to kind of make a certain pass get really cut out because I'm not a two-footed player, right? I was literally more like Anthony, where I could only really use my right. Now I can make a pass with my left, but it's not going to be, I can't kick the ball to the other side of the field with my left. I can make a short pass with my left, but I would obviously prefer my right. But if I had to, really, if it had to come down to it, in quick thinking, I would make a short pass with my left. But I would obviously prefer my right, because I was just a lot more accurate and a lot more better in my right. But it would cut out some of the angles, and it would make it a lot more difficult. And sometimes you would only have, you would then have to be a lot more smarter and not try to force the ball in a forward position when you want to, because you're trying to go forward. And sometimes you just have to accept that I can't make this pass, and you got to pass it backwards into a safer option so that you don't lose the ball. And I think that's where Dalot is getting a little bit, because he's trying to make the 1-2 pass and push up and go forward, but the angle is getting cut for him, and he's obviously not using his left, he's using his right. So he's forcing the ball a little bit where he can just play it backwards on that left-hand side. And I think that's where he just has to get that little bit of an understanding more. Because, I think going forward, I think he's fine. But I think it's just that position of when we get the ball out of the back and we're playing out of the back and we're trying to do the build-up, that's where it's kind of turning into a mess. So, Mazzawari can play anywhere, even number 10, according to Eric with a K. Yes, apparently he can play literally anywhere. Because we might as well. I mean, I'm surprised, he didn't put him number 9. But yeah. Lines saying Maz could play in goal, and I bet that would still be amazing. Let's not give nobody any ideas here. Steph saying no one can hold a candle to Dennis Irwin. best at United. Well, Dennis Irwin was just Dennis Irwin. I mean, and I just feel like Dennis Irwin is so underrated in like the general of football. Like I don't understand why he's not talked about in the way that I feel like he should be talked about. Um, I don't get why he doesn't really get the recognition that he probably should get. You know, even in a game like EAFC, like FIFA, right? Like he's not even in that game, and I find that kind of hard to believe considering the player that he was. I don't really understand why he's not in it. I feel like he should be an icon in it. Um, you know, it's something to me that I mean, but they don't know football anyway. But yeah, they got players in there that are like, and it's like you put those players in, but you don't even consider to put Dennis Irwin in. So you know, um, Dalot could be the mascot, and I'd still only have eyes for him. Grace says, and I agree, Steph. Henze or Hines, was the closest to Irwin we've had. Well, yeah, he was, and he had his games. He didn't, and then he had his injury problems as well. But he was a good player for quite some time. But Ruben Amorim followed up on Diogo Dalot. Since Diogo Dalot is such a hot topic today, it's turned into, and at least it's the Diogo Dalot stream and not the Marcus Rashford stream. But he's had a couple. He's had like two more quotes on Diogo Dalot. So he said, Ruben Amorim also said that he's a player that can play both sides, which I just said. And a player like that these days is perfect because you can put him in a different position. I expect the same Dalot as last year. He's a team player. You can feel that in the way he plays. And I do agree with that. Like he is a team player. And I do still think that you can play him on both sides. For the reasons that I just stated previously before reading out this quote. And I do sort of expect, and I think we all sort of expect the same Dalot as last year. Like, I just think that he is a little bit out of form right now. That's it. And I do put my money on him to find his way back into form. I don't think it's really a question of if. I think it's just of when. And I think it will come sooner rather than later. I think it'll come with the team as well. Like, you know, the team is in a little bit of a stumbling block. There's a few players, other players that they need to, you know, just unity. Everybody has to kind of build together. And I think once the team starts pushing up a little bit more, everybody will push up together. And that will include Diogo Dalot. Breaking news from Stephanie. Diogo Dalot has applied for a restraining order on someone we know and love. Yeah. Grace is not going to be happy about that. She's going to be out there with a guitar. A giant boombox outside Diogo Dalot's house. Playing songs and whatnot like they do in the movies. So I rate him as a player. I rate him as a player line. But he also said, and so does Ruben Amorim, because he said he's a great player who can help the team. So you know, Ruben Amorim rates him as well. Ruben Amorim was also asked if he can speed up the process of, I guess, you know, what he's trying to do at Manchester United. And he said, if you give a player a video longer than 12 minutes, forget it. They lose concentration. We have to imagine we're in an indoor stadium. Instead of a video, we do it like walking and jogging and some videos. Which is interesting because I don't know how to really take that quote. Is he saying they have short attention spans? Is he saying that they're not intelligent or the video is just boring? Because I would assume that he can watch. I would assume he's saying he can watch a longer than a 12-minute video. But he can't give it to the players because I guess the players don't like watching those videos and they'd rather be doing stuff like on the pitch, which is actually it's kind of a quite comical it's a quite comical quote, to be honest. But I like these things from him because he's very honest, you could tell, and he hasn't held anything back, and he said a lot of things that maybe some of the fans have been saying in the fan base as well. So yeah, that's actually quite funny that he's saying things like this. Grace is saying the thing about Maz is he don't give us trauma of playing under multiple managers at United. He's a new signing who's doing well, but I'm not getting giddy about it. A few bad performances, people will turn. Well, that's fine. And I get that, but I always say, Grace, like that's fine. You could let them turn though. It's similar to kind of like Axios today saying that like he was kind of putting the blame on like United fans like kind of turning on the manager and saying like they want him out, and therefore like that leads to the manager getting sacked. And like I made the argument back that like 90% of the fan base can want the manager out, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to get sacked, because it's all about performances, right? And like that's fine. Like let them turn. Like it's about what you really believe. You know what I mean? Like if you think he's a good player, he's a good player. And if he has some bad performances, then you just notch it down to he's had some bad performances. But obviously he's a good player. People are there's a lot of people out there that they flip and they flop back and forth a lot. Like one day, one match they're the best player, the next match they're the worst player. Those people are the people that, we take a lot less seriously. It is what it is. Like that's why, like I think Maz is a fantastic player. He's been a fantastic player. I think he's a good player. If he plays 3 games and he plays like crap 3 games in a row, I'm not gonna be like, well, Maz is no longer a good player. He's just playing bad. But obviously he's a good player because I've seen him play good. You know. But I get what you mean too. There's he's a new guy, so there's no past trauma. And we have to see how it continues further down the line as well. Um, Ruben give them snaps of what he wants them to do. Ruben has sussed out our players very quickly. Well, that's the thing. Like and it's something that's kind of very refreshing about Ruben Amorim is that like from the moment he was like officially announced as Manchester United head coach and he made statements, you could just really tell that like he has a more understanding of this club than like most of the managers we've had post Sir Alex Ferguson. And also, he did make the comment not too long ago that, considering that he's fairly young and he was only a player a few years ago, he does understand these players like a lot more so than maybe some of these other managers do because of the age difference and the gap and kind of the generational just difference in society in general. So I think he really does understand their mental a lot more and can identify with them, and he really does he's really a lot more inside their heads than a lot of the other managers out there, because somebody like Ange Postecoglou, for example, he's much older than a lot of the players on Tottenham. Even Eric Ten Hag is a lot older than a lot of the players on Manchester United. He's a lot closer in age, so I think he understands these younger, like even the 17-year-olds. He's much closer to their age, than Ten Hag is to some to those players. So like and managers of those age. Now obviously, what you gain there, you lack in other places. Like he lacks obviously experience. He hasn't been managing for as long as some of the older managers, but it's a plus and a negative in certain aspects. But yeah, now for sure, but Maz is playing RCB, right? So like he's not even playing in a wing back. I think Dalot, you could literally just throw him wing back. The problem is that Diallo is kind of playing in that position, but Diallo, we've always said that maybe you could put him, behind like in the top of the front three. But then the other problem that comes into that is is the is that he obviously is going to want to fit Mount there, and then there's Garnacho there, and then there's Rasmus, right? So it's good. It's like a good headache because there's a lot of options that you can go with. But then obviously the space is sort of limited for the players, and they really got to fight for it. So, um, you know, Um, Player favorite shouldn't exist under Ruben. Everyone under scrutiny, which is how it should be. It should be team ethic only. Well, that's what he more or so does, right? But I think every manager has favorites regardless. Like whether anybody wants to really accept it or not, there's favorites for a reason. Maybe they perform the best in the system or whatever it is. My only thing is that like when they're not performing, you still have to do the right thing based off of merit, right? And really, remove them out and put somebody else in and give somebody else an opportunity to shine and play and provide for you. Even if they're your favorite because they understand the system the best or they provide the best on a typical basis, but if they're not doing it at that moment, then you got to really switch it up. But he said that the one thing he won't stand for is people playing as individuals, people playing for themselves and people not playing for the team. And if you don't play for the team, you're not going to play and you're not going to be involved, and therefore you won't be uh one of his favorites. So, and I think as long as the players play for the team, I think they're all pretty much going to then be considered his favorites. So they should all kind of be on a level playing field anyway. Shaw, Martinez, Dalot, Yoro, and Maz all for the center back positions. Are we really going to spend 50 million on Branthwaite? Well, and there's Lindelof and Maguire as well for this season, but there's always the question mark of Shaw, because Shaw can get injured at any time. And then you have Martinez, Dalot, Yoro, and Maz, which gives you 4, right? And then there's Maguire and Lindelof when they stay fit. And you would say that maybe Maguire's going to go. Lindelof looks like he's gone at the end of the season. And you kind of need still backups, right? You kind of still need, like, if we're going to play 3 center backs, we need at least 3 backups for that position. And there's also Johnny Evans, which I expect Johnny Evans to go at the end of the season as well. So, if Shaw goes, if Lindelof goes, if Maguire goes, if Johnny Evans goes, right? That's 4 players, and then we're left with Martinez, Dalot, Yoro, and Maz. You would need to get in a Branthwaite or somebody of that manner. And if not 1, 2, in my opinion, anyway. Rotation and competition for places should keep players fresh and players set up. Yes, and that's one of the things that he keeps talking about, rotation. And I think it's something that we should definitely be watching, because it's something that he has to get right for it to work for him. And it's one of the things that I think many of the managers have struggled, the ones that have failed prior to him. There's always been this period where the rotation has come under scrutiny, whether they rotate too much, they don't rotate enough, depending on which manager you talk about. I think in Ten Hag, he did both. I think one season, he like this season he was rotating too much. The other season before, he didn't rotate enough. So he clearly never got that right, which led to many problems. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he really handles that going forward. And Steph saying Andrew's a good manager because he knows he can't be players' mates. Ruben appears to be similar, knows where the line is. Yeah. Well, you can't be. Well, I think there's a good mixture with that. Like, I feel like a good manager, like, you can be mates with them to a certain level, but you can't be like Ali mates with them, right? But you can be. When I say mates, like, you don't have to be their best friend, but you can be friendly with them. Like, I think Jose is very cold, right? And I think Ten Hag was very robotic in terms of, like, he was lacking a personal connection with the players. And, like, it can't be one way too much and one way to the other. I think everything in life, that's why there's a yin and a yang symbol. It's a nice balance. Like, And I think Amorim seems to be that way, where he is sort of very friendly in that aspect, but he's not like, yeah, I'm just one of you. Like, there's a fine line, and he will execute that line if need be, but also he can connect with them on a certain personal level as well. um yeah, we're gonna see Maguire in the back three. He should be coming back. I think he'll be back, not this match, maybe next week, because he is close to being back. So and he's always played good in a back five, back three, whatever you want to call it. So and he was playing well before he got injured and stuff like that, and he's been playing well over the past like year or so. So I expect him to come, and I think he'll play good. I think he'll fit in there good as well. So we got to see Maguire what happens of it. But Ruben's admiration for Roy Keane in Neville interview was telling. Wouldn't surprise me if he replaced Bruno as captain in the future. Well, um, maybe, but I don't think he's gonna do it now. And if he was to replace Bruno, I don't know, who would you put as captain from the current squad if it's not Bruno? That would kind of resembles the Roy Keane thing. I don't think it would necessarily be a player from the current squad setup. Maybe you could argue for Alicha, but I don't know, you know, to that aspect. Uh, and maybe it's somebody that's not at the club yet that he's gonna go and get. Um, Poll for red or white wine. Can you set that up, Grace? Can you run polls, or do I have to run the poll? Pretty sure my mod should be able to run polls. Bring some of the youth into the team. Well, I think I have to do it. That's stupid. YouTube, what is this? Or does Grace just not want to do it? Is she lying to me? Stephanie, is she lying to me? um what Ray is saying, um what Ray is saying is the stupid poll is okay. Bring some youth into the team. Well, I think he will bring some youth into the team, but right now the problem is, and again, some people don't like this answer that I give, but this is what I truly believe. The youth, and I think he will bring in youth, and I think there will be I think there's an order for this. Um, but right now it's about getting the first team set up, right? And there's a job to do there, and you got to get those you got to get the first team set up. You got to get the first team. You got to get the identity. You got to get them playing well. You got to get them to understand each other. You got to really set that first team. You got to set that environment for the youth to come into, because it's all good and well that, I mean, he can go and grab like two or three of the youth players and bring them in, but what environment are you bringing these this 17-year-old, this 18-year-old, the 16-year-old? What environment of the first team are you bringing them into when it's kind of still a mess, and it's trying to be set up, and it's trying to be put into? He has to lay the foundation first of the first team before I really feel like it's proper to integrate these youth players. But I think he will integrate the youth players because he's done it at Sporting, and he does like the youth players, and he does like working with these youngsters. And I think a lot of that stuff is happening in the background anyway on the training field, because they can get that experience to that certain extent on the training field with the first team anyway. But to bring them in and to throw them into matches while the first team is trying to find its identity and its way of playing, I just think it's unfair to the youth players, because it's like you're throwing them into chaos and you're throwing them into unbalance, and you know, they're very young and they're very impressionable, and like one bad game, one bad mistake can like throw them off course for like a while. So I think in due time, I think we will see more youth players. But I think right now the main focus is let's get the first team settled. Let's get the proper way of playing, the structure, the understanding between everybody. Let's set this sort of culture and understanding between everybody. Let's set this environment so that it's a positive and like growthful environment, and then let's start bringing some of these younger prospects in so they can come in, so it's easier for them anyway, because it's already difficult for them to come in like that. So um yeah, 100%. But Ruben Amorim has had some more stuff to say, um, following up that whole video quote, talking about, we showed them some videos. Then, for example, Carlos is with the strikers. He will show them individual moments. We try to make sure every staff member has a job, and they are more important, maybe more than me. He also spoke on Everton, again, saying it is what it is. We will rotate players. Like yesterday, we had to use about 4 subs to manage the fitness, not the game. So we have to do this. We know it will be like that. No excuses. We'll be ready for Sunday, and we have to win. So strong statements. He's not hiding from anything, which is good to see, and I like that because number one, I think it's good for him. Because if he's hiding and he's making excuses, people are gonna get onto his back. So he's telling it how it is. He understands the room as well, and he understands Manchester United, regardless of the situation. We expect to win. We want to win. The pressure is there to win. And there's really the fan base doesn't like excuses. We don't like stuff like that. So I think when he comes out and says things like this, I think it's a win-win for him anyway, because he's not really hiding. He's showing that he understands the fans and what the fans are saying and what the fans think. He's sort of connecting with the fans, and he's showing, confidence. In the fact that like he is pushing for wins. He's telling you like, listen, we're in a situation, but there's no excuse. We're gonna go for the win. We want to win. We're trying to win. And if he wins, then he wins, and if he doesn't, I think obviously it'd be disappointing, but I still think it helps him out anyway, because it's like, well, obviously, he wasn't hiding. And he got an L. So it is what it is. I think it takes a little bit of the sting out of him, which I think is smart by him anyway. Ruben Amorim also spoke on Luke Shaw, saying Luke Shaw did some minutes against Bodo. He's training now after the game last night, because today he won't be able to do some of the things. We will manage all the staff, trying to figure out some of the ideas to deal with that. He also said, without training, you have to use the games. I felt like against Bodo, we pressed much higher. Mount pressed with high intensity for 60 minutes. Rasmus was dead in the end. He absolutely was, because again, I think he's he's the best attacking presser we probably have as like the number 9. And he just provides that energy. And when he sticks on that back line, when he is on the edge of the defensive line, I just think he provides that little bit of extra for us. He provides that extra pressure to the defense, and he's just a lot. It just makes everything a lot more threatening for our attack. So, and a goal came out of that in the first 50 seconds of the match or whatever it was. So and he finished the quote by saying the guys that are playing have to push more. So he's demanding more yet again, and I think he's going to keep demanding more, and I think we all want him to demand more anyway. So Ruben Amorim also spoke on Mason Mount, saying he's working really hard. We have to understand the human also. He wants this really bad. That's the most important thing. I think he's proved to all of you that he's a talented player. He was a European champion also. And I think that's really the sentiment about that, is that we do understand that Mason Mount can be a very influential and talented player for us, and he does have already talent and ability. The whole problem around him is that his injury sort of proneness, or injury question marks, where he's constantly in and out, and it disrupts, him playing, getting minutes and form and stuff like that. So, when he says he wants this really bad, I think he's talking about that he wants to really stay fit, and he wants to be involved, and he wants to do things for the club, and he wants to be this player for the club that I think we all sort of hope that he can be. And he continued on, Mason Mount, saying, "We believe a lot in him. He has to stay fit, and like I said, everyone is quality players. They have to improve and believe in themselves." And I think it's a great basic quote, because we've mentioned this many times on the show, not on this show, like this today's show, but like on the shows that we've done, like, you know um the players have to improve, but they also have to believe in themselves. Like, self-confidence is a big part of probably anything in life, but especially as a footballer. Like, you can train tactics, you can train formations, you can have great ability, but if you don't believe in yourself to the fullest extent, then you're gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer, and you're not gonna hit the heights that you probably can. So, um he also said on Mason Mount that against Bodo, Mount did a great job. There was so, I think he meant there was so many moments and details where you can see Mount as a proper footballer. We believe a lot in him. I especially believe a lot in Mason Mount. So, just by these quotes, and the prior quotes that he made, I think, as long as Mason Mount stays fit, I think Mason Mount is going to be a prominent figure for Ruben Amorim. I think he's going to feature quite a lot, and I think he's going to play in that position, which really means, does Bruno Fernandes end up playing in that deeper role going forward a lot more if Mason Mount's going to play there? Because then the options up top start getting really, almost too clustered in terms of, you'll have Garnacho, you'll have Mount, you have Bruno, you have Rasmus, obviously. Then there's Rashford. Then there's, what do you do with Diallo? Do you leave him at wing back? Do you shift him inside there? Because you can shift him inside. You can even, I would argue, still put Kobe Mainoo up there. We don't know what he's going to do with Kobe Mainoo. He hasn't featured yet under Amorim. He hasn't come back. So we got to see what happens with Mainoo. Is he going to stick him in the center mid somewhere and use him there? Can he? I feel like he can throw him up there as well. Where Mount's playing, or something like that. So yeah, we got to see, because then the options start getting really packed up there. There's only 3 spots, and there's so many different players. But this is, again, what I like about this system and formation, because it's so interchangeable, and it provides you so many different options and so many different ways you can really set up, and you can change it based on certain opponents, the way they play. You can play different players in different positions for different reasons. I think it's a very, very, very good system, like I've been saying for quite some time now. And Ruben said, if you ask the media what system I used against Bodo, they would say a 4-4-2 defending. I think then we put 2 wide players, like the 20 other teams of the leagues. Dalot and Malacia defend more like defenders, and Ahmad and Anthony like a winger. He also said, what I want is good one-on-one, to open the field, to play, to close when we lose the ball. I think the structure is more fluid than the media, thinks. I think it's more the characteristics of the players. He also said, today we finished, because he did this, this came after the match yesterday. So he said, today we finished today without any center back. So it was Casemiro, Mazzawari, Luke Shaw, which is true. I think it is more the characteristics of the players and not the real positions of the players. And that is true as well. Because again, the system is the system. The players, you can interchange them based on, like he said, the characteristics. What was your first reaction and thought when you found out we was going to play a 3-4-3? Well, I was okay with it. I was a little bit more. My concern was more of the traditional United fan base that wouldn't be open to it, or would look at it as like that's not the United way. But I was for a while against that because I was really against this whole five back thing. But I think if you look at a lot of people play this sort of formation nowadays, right? 3-4-3, and you can say it turns into a 5-2-3 or whatever it is, in defense. I was more so against it because the teams that were playing were really playing five backs with the wing backs then going forward when they had the ball, but it was really a five back. But if you play it in an actual 3-4-3 and it's meant to be attacking, I'm okay with it. And I actually think, like I've said in a previous stream, like we Manchester United as a whole have to move into 2024. The modern style of football is these sort of formations. Xabi Alonso's doing a similar formation at Bayern Leverkusen, and he's had immense success with it. Pep Guardiola does a variation of it to a certain extent, or has done so, and he's sort of changed it a little bit here and there. But there's quite a lot of examples of people playing in this way, and they play a very good attacking football. That's all I really care about. I don't care really the number of the formation, as long as it's attacking and it's not defensive. If it's set up defensive first, attacking second, I'm not going to be here for it. If it's attacking first and sort of defensive second, then I don't care really the numbers. It could be a 3-4-1-2. It could be a 2-1-3-4, whatever it is. It could be any of that. I just it has to be something that allows for attacking football. And I was a little bit concerned with that part of the fan base that we've always played a four back. It's got to be a four back. That's a full back is a full back. It's a full back is Manchester United. But I think once they understood and they looked into it a little bit more and they looked at the 3-4-3 system and they saw how many goals Sporting scored playing 3-4-3 system, I think that concern that I had went away for them quite quickly because they don't really care either. They just want attacking football. They want good, entertaining attacking football and football that's going to get you results. And when they seen the number of goals that Sporting scored in across all the top leagues in Europe, I think they just didn't care that it's a 3-4-3 because they're like, well, if it's a 3-4-3 that are getting them all those goals, then bring that shit to United and play it. So, yeah. When we played the back four, we mostly sat in a back three anyway, so it's the same. It's the same, just a different. It's the same shape, just a different formation. And yeah, and he said that too. Amorim has said that too. He was like, it's not much different if you play with a 3, a 4, or a 5. It's not so much so different because on the field it shape shifts, right? It transforms constantly. When you attack, it's one thing. When you're defense, it turns into sort of a different shape. So those things aren't really that big of a deal either anyway into that aspect. Onana as our sweeper keeper, Stephanie asks. Well, I think so. I mean, that's what he was bought for, right? That was the reason why we got him and why we got rid of De Gea, but we struggled to play out of the back under Erik ten Hag, and then it looked very bad, and then he was constantly changing things, and I think it was, but I think in this system and this formation, and I think even yesterday, while it was absolutely nuts and crazy, kind of what he did, I mean, he was out, he swept that moment, and still it wasn't like it almost maybe still led to a goal, but he tackled the ball twice with his feet, and he managed to stop it. So I think he can absolutely do it, and I think that's what he was meant for. And I think the better we get at playing in this way, in this system that Amorim has, I think the better it'll help Onana be able to sweep keep. I think part of the problem is that like the way we were playing wasn't it doesn't play it wasn't efficient for a sweep keep, and therefore Onana was suffering in that aspect. But when you play efficiently for a sweep keep, then you will see probably the best of Onana. So yeah. I honestly feel football has lost a lot of magic nowadays. I miss the proper 4-4-2 so much. York and Cole and Teddy in. Well, I always loved the 4-4-2. That was the formation. That was the formation. And it did provide a lot because it's just a really balanced formation. It's just balanced. It's not too defensive, and it used to not be too defensive, and it wasn't like it could be a little bit of both actually. It could be very defensive if you needed to be, and it could be very attacking if you needed to be, depending on how you managed it during the game. But the two strikers obviously allowed for more, I guess you would say, goals or more opportunities because you have two strikers in the box, and therefore you have more options going forward, especially with the way we used to play it, which was like almost kind of like a full, well, at times a full 4-4-1-1 with like Rooney kind of just playing that center forward role. Like lines are saying there's no proper center forward play anymore. And then, Cristiano at that time having kind of like a free roam. So he would kind of be up there, and then the other winger really pushing forward, and then even one of our center mids going forward. So it would turn quite attacking, which would lead to many goals. But nowadays, because of the other systems that people play, and that 4-4-2 really struggles, so you can't really play it the way that they used to play, which is why nobody really plays it anymore. And if they do play it, they play it for defensive because it's very balanced, and you have two banks of four, and then you have the two up top, and they also drop back. And you really end up defending in a block of four and a block of six, or it turns into a block of five and a block of five. In that aspect. So Stephanie's out, says great show, everyone. See you soon. Well, thank you for stopping by, Steph. Appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one, which will be after the match on Sunday. So we're not going to stream tomorrow, but the problem with the 4-4-2 is wide players are wingers these days, and player higher, leaving you exposed. Well, yeah, there's a lack. Well, that I think has come with the change of the systems, right? Because they don't develop traditional wingers anymore, right? And they don't develop traditional wingers anymore because they don't use systems like 4-4-2 really anymore. They use a lot of inside forwards. And inside forwards are not traditional wingers, and they operate very differently. So, yeah, is what it is. And just any other news that we could hit. So, the title of the stream and all that, and then in the headline, obviously, because I said we'll circle back to it, so we could circle back to it, and it's about Manchester United not getting any getting any January signings, and that was because of what I have up on the screen. That's still up on the screen. That is that Ruben Amorim focused on working with and developing the players in his Manchester United squad, and that Ruben Amorim has not made any requests about buying players in January, including Portugal-based players like Gyokeres, Quenda, and Araujo. So I don't think that we won't necessarily sign somebody in January. I still do believe that we can get at least one or two signings in January. It depends what opportunities are available in January. Every club usually is able to get something done in January, right? So there's no reason why we can't do it. And I do. Now, the only thing that is a concern is we spent a good amount of money. I think we paid about 10 million or so to sack Eric Ten Hag. We paid about 11 million or so to get in Amorim. That's about 21 million. How has that impacted the financial fair play sort of, and Premier League regulation, fair play regulation? whatever the fuck it's called, PSR. Um, how has that impacted us for our ability to spend, whatever amount in January? I think it definitely had an impact in some sort of an extent, but I still think we should be able to get some type of something done. I don't think Manchester United should be doing zero business, and I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe necessarily doesn't want to do business either. I think he's well aware that Manchester United don't do business in January, and I think he's well aware. And even his football people like Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth and etc. Like they will be telling him like, hey, like as a proper football club, we need to be looking to do a deal or two in January of some sorts, because every club does it. They strengthen in January, and if we sit here and we don't do it, we can fall behind. There's numerous amount of clubs in the Premier League will sign a player or a couple players, which will strengthen their squad, and we will still have the same squad. So I'm not too fearful of that, but I don't think it's going to be anything major. Like I don't think like they said, I don't think like Manchester United will go and buy Victor Gyokeres or any of these other high profile players that are being linked to Manchester United that are really for the summer. I think that's going to be for the summer. And there's obviously different reasons for that, because the financial thing resets itself after May or something like that, or when you get to June, something like that. So you can spend more money without it being rolled into the same year, and stuff like that. So, um, yeah. But this update came from Laurie Whitwell saying Manchester United's ability to spend freely in the summer depends on sales, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a man in a hurry, and that might be a factor in the in the business that is done. So, it's an interesting piece from Laurie Whitwell. Um, I don't know what that necessarily means in terms of, I think we've talked about Sir Jim Ratcliffe in his time, and he wants to try and catapult this project as quickly as possible. And he doesn't want to dilly dally about it. Um, but if we don't have the funds available per se, and we have to do player sales, um, unless they find out another way to get some cash injected so that we could get extra cash without player sales, it will be interesting. I'm sure they're looking at all possible avenues, but I think he's alluding to the fact that, well, if we are restricted a little bit, we might have to actually sell some players, and maybe, like Lines is alluding to, saying that if Rashi is sold, then that bumps up our spending budget, and maybe something like that might have to happen, and that's something that kind of Laurie Whitwell is maybe alluding to, that hey, we're trying to really move this forward, and Marcus Rashford is a player that is struggling and is not really hitting the heights of what we expect from a player on this wage, and we can kind of get him out. He is a youth academy product, so it's your FFP, your profit, and we can use these funds to acquire, other players, and reallocate some funds and get some players for this project. So, um, between us, well, it's not between us, because you said it to the whole chat. But yeah, I mean, I hear you, but like, I try not to silence nobody. And here's the thing, like, I was gonna say this last time, but then I was gonna make a stream after the last stream, but then I was sick on Monday and ended up not streaming. And I had a couple people actually message me, um, after the show, and they were they were upset about comments being made, I guess, from one chat members to the other chat members and stuff like that. Um, and I just need to say, like, that's not like tolerated in here in any way. Like, we have our fun and everybody's all good, but it. I don't. Here's the thing. I don't want to. I don't believe in. I don't believe in banning people for saying things, right? Because I believe in freedom of speech, and even if you have bad take or a bad idea, or whatever it is, I believe that they should be allowed to say it. And I'm not for one for like banning people from like a platform, um, being able to like access it and say it. Well, what I won't have is like people coming in here and being intentionally um like toxic on purpose to try and stir anger and stuff from community members. So I just gonna put it out as a verbal warning for now and say that like if those things happen and I do deem that you are purposely putting out inflammatory comments to rile up other members of the community, I will give you a soft ban warning the first time, so you will get a timeout for that stream. And if you come back and anybody does it again, then I will have to permanently remove you from the channel, which I don't want to do, but I will have to do it because I don't need the rest of the community being upset. So you know, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you listen, some people think they have valid points. What I'm saying is like there's a point between having a different opinion or being whatever about it, but it's about coming in and having these on purpose inflammatory kind of remarks and kind of attacking people and like like it's like I don't know how to put it in exact terms. It's like trying to trying to come with anger and toxicity on purpose to piss off other people. Like that doesn't need to be a thing. Everybody can have a discussion. It can get a little bit heated because you can be very opinionated and you can believe in your opinions, and that's fine. There could be disagreements and all that stuff. But coming in and purposely trying to make things, all very very negative on purpose to try and kind of be um facetious about it, like I'm not gonna have that. Like so I will, if somebody does that going forward, I will tell them, I will call them out for it, and then I will time them out for that show, and if they come back and they do it again, then I will have to ban them. um no, it's not. You be warned, people, like Grace says, no Daily Mail opinion. So no bad mouthing Dalot. No, you can badmouth Delot, but if you come on here and say Delot is an R word this and F word that, that we can't, we're not having. But you can say that you don't like Delot or you don't think Delot is good, and you can list your reasons as to why, and then you can say I don't like this player for this reason, blah 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 blah. Like, regular stuff that we usually do. But yeah, I had to put that out there because I wasn't too happy um that I had people messaging me after the show saying that they weren't happy about certain things that were going on in the chat, and I wasn't. Sometimes I don't. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes when you guys are talking amongst each other, I kind of just skip over your comments because you guys are having a conversation between yourselves, and it doesn't really involve me. Um, so I just kind of skip those because that's for you guys, for you guys to have that conversation. It's not for me to read out per se on the stream. So I missed some of the things that were being said, or kind of the back and forth. So I wasn't too aware of exactly what was being said, but there was things that was going on that I didn't like too much, and I was aware because the comments were being, they were being directed like for me to read out, and I didn't say anything because I knew what it was, so I just went the route of I will play it off. um so yeah. um but yeah, that's that. And there's an article here that Manchester United to sell 3 key players. The Athletic also reveals key decision makers behind the scenes at Manchester United. And this has come out 31 minutes ago saying Mazawari is internally regarded as one of the best signings at Manchester United in recent years. Both the board and the coaching staff are extremely satisfied with his performances. He is seen as an absolute leader and is expected to continue his role under Ruben Amorim in the future. So there's that. And then this article, Manchester United to sell 3 key players in 2025. Ruben Amorim is finding his ideal starting lineup at Manchester United, wanting to offload 3 stars, surplus the requirement. And it reads as, Ruben Amorim is working towards finding his ideal starting XI for his era at Manchester United. The current squad was assembled for a very different system from what Amorim is trying to install in the team. Some players are slotting into the squad perfectly, with players like Delap and Rasmus Højlund. Other players like Maz, Garnacho are having to adjust their play style slightly, becoming more central players than what they're used to. However, some stars just don't feature in Amorim's long-term plans at all. Already, we know that Amorim is looking to sign players to both flanks and a new striker. However, there is one massive barrier to overcome. Under United's current financial pressures mean that to make any signings next year, they have to make sales, and big sales at that. As such, The Athletic has reported that Amorim has identified 3 key players he looks to offload next year. Firstly, we have Joshua Zirkzee, set to depart not long after arriving. The Dutch striker arrived against Erik ten Hag's wishes, which is extremely fucking interesting, because I could have sworn that he came because Erik ten Hag wanted him, but that's news to me. And is now set to be sold only 12 months later. And I will let me just say that for him to come in, and he's coming against supposedly Erik ten Hag's wishes, which I thought Erik ten Hag wanted him, but apparently not. If we sell him, I won't be against it, because this is the thing that Omar Barada talked about. And this is the thing that Omar Barada said basically when he joined Manchester United. We will sign a player, and if it seems to be the wrong player or the wrong fit for the club, they will be sold within a year or 2. Recoup the money as much as possible without doing too much extra damage, right? Because if it's not the right fit and it's not the right player, as you see somebody like Anthony, it only exacerbates the damage that's going to be done to the player's value and trying to offload him, right? Anthony is 3 seasons in, it's all been bad, right? If you had 1 season in and you identified and you were like, you know what, it wasn't the right signing, it was a bad buy, offload him, get whatever money you can recoup, and get somebody else in, and we go from there, and everybody moves on. If we get rid of Zirkzee, I won't be against it, because for me, I think he can still develop, but he's 23, right? And his pace is a very big concern for the way we are playing, or the way we want to play, and the Premier League. And I don't know, he can't necessarily do anything about that pace. And he's kind of tall, awkward, and a little bit clunky in that aspect. So I think there's a big risk that it's really not going to work. So if they decide to move him on after only 12 months, I'm okay with it, because these are the things that Omar Barada and the hierarchy need to be doing anyway. So if they do it, that's fine. Juventus are currently the front runners to cite the striker, having used the recent trip to England for the Champions League to discuss a deal with United. Then there's Casemiro. Amorim is very clear that he's looking for intensity at the club, something which, when compared to Meno and Agarte, Casemiro is starting to struggle with. Now, we could convert him into a centre-back. Maybe, apparently, I don't know. While there are no current links with clubs looking at the Brazilian, his quality will hopefully bring in suitors, probably Saudi Arabia. However, United did try to sell the 32-year-old this summer with no luck. Well, if he plays I think he's having a better season this season. I mean, if he plays better, I think maybe a Saudi Arabian club will come for him. Finally, there's Anthony, United's 86 million signing that unfortunately has not justified the price tag. Much like Casemiro, though, Anthony was on the priority sale list this summer with no takers. Well, that that's a different problem. If United can sell the trio, then hopefully they'll be able to raise funds to sign the likes of Giovani Quenda and Victor Gyokeres, who are currently on their target list. So, um, yeah, I want him to do good, but he has to do good, not even just to keep him, because to get rid of him, we need him to do better. So, um, Grace is saying, "What is toxic? I only do fun. I bring the laughs." No, that's not toxic. Toxic, well, I guess toxic has a different meaning in everybody's eyes, but toxic is like toxic. Toxic to me would be like you hold a certain opinion, and I know you hold a certain opinion, and you come in here and you're clearly saying things. Um, you're clearly saying things that fly in the face of on purpose. Of things that we've said as a community to try and be you're being toxic. Like you're trying to like stoke flames. You're trying to like anger people and kind of attack them for holding an opinion that they held about something, and now you're kind of using it to do that, to put it on to something else, which it doesn't really fit. Um so like for example, you could say something about like the fact that like we've said something about Eric Ten Hag. There was always a talk about, the time that Eric Ten Hag needs to have and needs to get. And then you come and you say something about, well, Ten Hag didn't get time, or you didn't give Ten Hag time, so Amorim gets no time. Like you, that to me, you're being toxic. Like because you're taking valid opinions of what the chat had, right? And we've discussed in detail, and we've gave like real opinion on it, and you were saying something different for a manager, but now because that manager that you wanted uh is gone, and there's this guy, like you're just gonna throw it onto this manager because it's like an fu to everybody else that went Ten Hag out, like something like that, like or whatever. Just there's certain things, but Grace, if you're being toxic, I'll tell you. Like, and or anybody, if anybody's like crossing a line, I will tell them live on air. Um, I've never called you out because I don't think you're being toxic. I think we understand you very well, Grace. You have your banter, you have your sarcasm, and I love sarcasm, and I'm all here for it. And you have some dark humor, and that's all fine. I'm all good with that stuff. So, and I think everybody else is okay with it. Obviously, we had like a small, tiny issue back in the day. It was like a misunderstanding, but I think everybody in the community kind of understands anyway, Grace. So I think we all kind of get each other. You know what I mean? And that's, and Lions is saying like, you're not toxic, you're hilarious. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, but it's all on, like on a personal thing as well. So there's many people that think Mark Goldbridge is toxic. There's people that don't think Mark Goldbridge is toxic. You know what I mean? Like it's really almost like a personal preference to a certain extent. But some people cry toxism a lot more easily than others. There's for me, you really got to cross a certain line, and you really got to be doing things with the very hard intention um to get me to say that, because I don't believe in this sort of soft world that we've gone into. I didn't grow up with it. When I was there was no like safe spaces. I didn't have a safe space. It was, you dealt with shit and you moved on. You know what I mean? And I never believed it. There was no one to save me. I was there. I had to go through it. And I think everybody else in the world, regular people, had to go through it as well. I'm not special. I'm just saying, like, I don't believe in that stuff. So, um, loaning Xerxes is to Italy is a bad idea. Well, I think they're saying selling him. I don't think they're not saying loaning. I think they're saying to offload him, like to sell him, like out of the club. Not a loan. I don't think they'd be looking to loan him. I think if they're gonna get rid of him, they're gonna get rid of him. I don't think we should loan him either. Um, maybe a championship team, yeah, but there's a reason why Bayern Munich let him go. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why he found himself at Bologna. So we kind of maybe should have looked at that. And that was obviously a mistake. Um, seems like it. Yeah. Well, that's what this article is saying, right? So, um, and again, that's what I said. Like, if they decide to sell him, I won't be too against it because, again, I do believe that the club needs to be operating like this. First of all, you have to be, you have to be ruthless to a certain extent. Like, yeah, okay, we got him for a year, and he's only been here for a year, and you say that's a very short time, and it's kind of crazy to get somebody in and then sell them, but we need to be doing things like that. Manchester City did things like that, and other clubs do things like that. Like, not every player you're going to get is going to be the correct signing. Not every player is going to be a good fit for the club, and um, you need to be able to identify and accept, hey, we fucked up, we made a mistake, this player is clearly not going to work here, this player is not as good as a fit as we might have thought he's going to be for the club. We need to cut our losses now before it gets worse, because there's more of a chance of it getting worse than it getting better. You cut your losses, you get as much money back as possible, and you go and get somebody else that's going to slot in a lot quicker and a lot easier, and a lot faster than the player you have right now. So, um, didn't we buy him because he had a cheap release clause, and a different profile to Rasmus? Cheap. Didn't he cost like 50 million? It was like 35, 34. No, I think he was fairly expensive. If I'm not mistaken. Um, it up. Actually, yeah, you're right. So Manchester United complete. We signed him for 36.5 million pounds, which is 42.5 million euros. Which was slightly above his, was slightly above his release clause. But it is in exchange for more favorable payment terms. So we didn't hit the release clause, and we paid a little bit over because the release clause was 34.4 million, which was 40 million euros. So we paid like an extra 2 point something, so that we can instead of paying, because if we hit the release clause, we would have had to pay the 34 million total up front, and split that up into payments. So what they did was they paid a little bit extra and then split it up into payments, over a previous amount of years. And we signed him for, we gave him a 5-year contract with an option of an additional year, so about 6 years. So we would technically still have 4+1, at the end of this season. Yeah. Um, wages. His wages are, he's on 32. Wait, what? I gotta do math. I gotta do math. 5, 4, divided by 2 equals. He's on about 105,000 a week, um, right now. So, that's not bad. It's like pretty standard. So yeah, we would probably be able to move him on. We're obviously probably gonna have to take, a loss on the the fee. But 100K isn't necessarily bad because whatever team would sign him, they could obviously afford somewhere around in that region. He probably have to take maybe like a little pay cut, uh, 20, 30K pay cut or something like that. Um, so yeah. Um, he would suit Inter Juventus. Well, that's what he was there, and I think listen, from watching him, he does seem like he suits Italian football. Uh, just his build, his speed, right? I don't know if it's gonna necessarily work for him in the Premier League. Unfortunately. So, I have my concerns about that. I understand he's 23 and he can still develop, but that pace seems to be a real problem. Um, Especially like the article says, he's looking for high intensity. You're not going to get high intensity out of him. He's too lanky. Too he's too slow. Just so I don't know. Um, but also the thing was like he was signed um against Eric Ten Hag's wishes. Like Eric Ten Hag didn't even want him, so clearly the club signed him. So clearly it's up to the club, which is also my thinking of why they might actually just get rid of him because the club did it. It's on the club, right? It's on INEOS. It's on Dan Ashworth, etc. And if Omar Barada is going to operate in the way Omar Barada was operating and says he operates, right? Then it's 1 to 2 seasons at max for signings, and either you integrate and you provide something or you get shown the door. Which is the way we need. Like, listen, we need to. Like, that might be rough. That might seem unfair. But football is unfair and life is unfair. And we're trying to build. We're trying to build to become champions, right? And Omar Barada, they did this at Manchester City when he was there. They constantly did it. If you don't fit the project, there's a player out there that will fit the project. And it's all about integrating as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible. So, you know, um I hear stories that McTominay is the best midfielder in Italy. Is the league that bad? Well, they just play a different style of football, right? And some of those players they suit that style of football and that pace very very well. And McTominay is one of those players that he's big, he's strong. He probably fits into the Napoli system very very well as well. With the team, which allows him to really flourish. So, the Italian people love him. The Napoli fans can't get enough of him. They literally question how we can let a player like that go. And this is the thing I'm saying. Like, just because you don't fit in Manchester United or you don't fit necessarily in the Premier League doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad player. You just have different qualities and strengths that are better for one league than another league. Like there's players that are more suited for the Spanish league. Um, you know, they could be the top player in La Liga. They go to Italy, they could be a mid-tier player because of the way they play football and the systems and the styles and the physicality or whatever, or maybe like there's not enough pace for them or stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean like the Italian league is that bad. It might just be like that his attributes and his build really fits that style of football and that culture of football there in Italy. And maybe it allows him to play absolutely marvelous. Whereas in the Premier League, it's a lot more demanding and it's a lot more intense. So, which makes him look sort of average when he plays with us, right? And you need a lot more technical ability, I would assume, the Premier League. So, McTominay is a 10, which we had multiple, and we needed a DM. Simple as that, really. Well, yeah, that was always the whole thing too, right? Like, clearly, obviously, his best position, at least in the Prem, and or at Manchester United is a 10, and we have too many 10s, and we need a CDM. So I'm still here, and I still think it was the right decision to get Manuel Ugarte because we needed Manuel Ugarte. We needed a defensive mid. We didn't necessarily need Scott McTominay. We needed a defensive mid. And we're gonna need another one because I think Casemiro time's coming to an end. Um, you know, yeah, Ten Hag played him out of position. And so did Jose Mourinho though. So did Ali. Nobody played him at 10 except for Ten Hag at that second season, right? When he played him there because he had to play him there. Because he was short on options, so started playing him there, and then he started scoring, so he just kept started playing him there more. Um, so if we sell Casemiro, what profile midfielder do we need? Well, I would definitely tell you a mobile one. A mobile one. Definitely high energy. I think one. See, for me, because Ugarte is already he's mobile, right? He has energy. He's like the little pit bull. I liken him to like a Lizandro, sort of. Like he will be the one that gets stuck in. He'll put a tackle in. He'll stop the attack. He'll foul the player if need be. But I still think helping build up in the attack, right, is not his strong suit. So I think if you can get somebody similar, because this is more of those specialized midfielders, right? If you get somebody similar to him in those aspects where they're like tenacious, they tackle, they get on the ball, they win the ball back, but can also help or they have good stats in build-up play, I would go and get a player of that profile because I think that will help um all around anyway. Because they would be able to kind of do both. That way you have like one that's doing both that can help defensively, but then also helps offensively, and then you have the other one that's just a little bit more defensive, right? Um, yeah, Conte. Yeah, I mean somebody Zubimendi, like somebody that just can kind of play both sides. But they have to do both sides well. Which I know probably narrows down a lot of the options, but I think somebody that's a specialist in like that, right? Um, I think that's probably the best option um for Manchester United for our team because I think it just balances the whole thing out. Because that way, I feel like that way it won't be like too defensive in the center, but then it won't be like too. It won't be like if you play because then it won't be like if you play Ugarte and Bruno. Like it won't be like one defensive and then one like you're gonna ask him to do it, but that's not really his strong suit, and then his strong suit is really to try and be like a deep lying playmaker sort of thing, right? Like he can defend for sure. He's good at defending, but then also good at helping build up play. Um Adam Wharton. Yeah. Is he a Blackburn? Is he a Blackburn? Is that the player I'm thinking of? Is that a different player? By the way, I'm just seeing something here like about Sterling. Oh, Palace. Who am I thinking about? There's like a Adam something. Was he at Blackburn? Or I'm mixing him up. There was like this young English player that was on Blackburn Rovers, and I could have swore his name was like Adam something, young boy. Was he at Blackburn and he's gone to Palace? Oh yeah, that's him. That's him. That was him. Yeah, Adam Warren. Yeah, okay. No, say I knew my football knowledge. I got it. I knew that was him. Yeah, all right. So he's gone to Palace now. Well, shit, we should have signed him from Blackburn, because now he's gonna cost us a pretty penny from Crystal Palace. Um, but yeah, that was him. He played for Blackburn. And he just went. He went from Blackburn to Palace. February 1st, 2024. So, yeah. Brad Friedel? No, Brad Friedel. Current market value, according to Transfer Market, is 30 million euros. So if that's the case, they'll ask for probably 70. So yeah. He's had 8 appearances for Crystal Palace. So how old is he? 20. Yeah, that's good. That'd be good. That'd be good. Great. Yeah, that's another thing. Like we need somebody like nice, like 22-year-old, 23-year-old. Get him in there. That. Well, I just seen Fabrizio put something about talking about Arteta on Sterling, about Sterling not coming on. And might I just please say, thank God we did not go for Raheem Sterling, because I knew that he was going to be shit, and I laughed at them for getting him, and I was so thankful that we decided not to go for him, and that they went for him instead, and that they got him, because I didn't want Raheem Sterling anywhere near our club, and thank God he's gone to Arsenal, because now I could just totally laugh at them for it, and I could laugh at him. I didn't like him. I didn't want him, and geez, man, I mean, just like uh, he is shit. He is shit. But listen, we're gonna end the stream here because I gotta go do some things. And it's been a good show. So thank you guys, and thank you everybody that's been in here and that supported the stream and got involved. And big up yourselves, Lion and Grace, and Stephanie was in here before, and Ray as well, and Aventino early in the show, and Alien Tenno, and I missed everybody. So yeah, big up yourselves, and we will be live after the match on Sunday for the Red Devil recap. No watch along for that. So no United to be cooked then. Not yet, not yet. We're keeping that one in the back pocket. Don't worry about it. We have the idea, right? Don't worry about it. What I'm gonna try and do is maybe a little bit later on today. If not tomorrow, I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna look into the Discord thing. Maybe we get the live call in, and we could test it out, I guess, on the after the for the Red Devil recap, and see how that goes. It might be a disaster because first time things might probably won't go as well, but yeah, yeah, we will we're gonna get that in. We're gonna get that in. We need it for the content, and it's good anyway. So yeah, we're gonna get that in. I'm gonna look into it. I probably have some time tonight. After I end the stream and do some things. I'll probably look into it. If I get into a chat with one of my friends, I should have asked him yesterday because I was on there and he did it too. So um, he might be able to actually even set it up for me because he likes to do those things. So Ray's saying the problem is there, Bruno. where we making room to play Bruno? Um, well, no, it's a good question, but he either plays deeper in the midfield, um, or he plays up top. One of those three positions. But again, we're gonna have to rotate, right? So, even if Mason Mount is the man for that position, Mason Mount's not going to be able to play 90 minutes every game. So there should be some shifting around with the players. You know, um, I like Bruno deeper though. I do like Bruno deeper. I think he just fits it better anyway. Uh, I do. I think he fits it better there anyway. I think Mount's better up there anyway. Um, but you can shift things around. So I don't know. Um, I don't think Bruno's gonna lose his place though. So it is an interesting question by Ray. Because you can't really drop Bruno per se. I mean you can, but I don't think he's going to. So like if you're not going to, that means you really can't. And if you can't, like then that means he has to play somewhere. So and if he has to play somewhere, then I would best bet right now, if people stay fit and stuff, then probably that deeper role. Because he still provides the mobility up there. But I guess it depends on each match. So um and then also, like, listen, like, obviously Garnacho's playing good. Diallo, it's still yet to be seen if he's going to be, staying on that wing back position or he's going to come inside. But obviously, Garnacho's going to need to be rotated as well. Like, he can't play every match. So it's going to be a lot of rotation. So let's see what happens. Let's see what Ruben Amorim decides to do. I think whatever he decides to do, so far, I think seems pretty fair and seems pretty level-headed with decisions and things that he's making so far. So let's see how it goes, and let's see how he deals with that and what he does with it. But other than that, we will catch you on Sunday after the match for the Red Devil recap, and everybody enjoy the rest of your Friday evenings. Excited for Sunday, absolutely. Score predictions. Score predictions before we get out of here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 3-1 maybe. 3-1, 3-2. United. I think we'll concede. I think we'll concede a goal somehow. I don't think we have. I don't think we have the defense. I don't think we have it battened down yet. I don't think so. So I think considering that we're still trying to find our feet, I don't think we have that battened down yet. Onana will make some saves because he's been doing that, right? But I just think that I think we'll concede a goal, maybe off of a set piece or some shit, or something like that. Maybe one or two. I feel like there's a mistake in there. I don't think we've grounded that yet in terms of confidence, strength that we're gonna get a clean sheet. Because we haven't gotten one yet. So yeah. But I think if we play like how we did yesterday and we create the amount of chances and we have the pressure, like we did yesterday, then I think we can create loads of chances. And I think if we create loads of chances, I think we'll score some more goals. Because we created very good chances and we were heavily in their opponent box, and we're home. So I expect for us to score maybe even a 2-1, something like that. Dalot on the right. Well, let's see, because he said it. But listen, if you put Dalot on the right, then what do you do with Diallo? Like, this is the thing. If you put Dalot on the right wing back, right, what do you do with Diallo? Because Diallo plays on the right. Diallo is only playing right now, really, or he's featuring because he's playing right wing back and he's doing good defensively as well. Like he has a good work rate for the defensive aspect. Obviously, he's not, you know, a right back or a left back, but he does good for a winger. The defensive aspect, he does it very good, and then he does the attacking aspect very good. You put Dalot on the right wing back spot. What do you do with Diallo? Do you bench him now? And then, you know, because I don't think you put him on the left side. I think that's. I mean, maybe it could work. I mean, maybe the link up play. You have Diallo, and then you have Garnacho, because maybe they have a very good understanding with each other, right? So you have Diallo left wing back bombing up that side, Garnacho up on that side, right? And maybe you just overload the left hand side with super attacking prowess. But it is balanced with what he's doing. You do see that, right? Like Garnacho is obviously the more he plays a little bit more inside, but he's obviously the more like attacking forward compared to like the Mount, right? Which is why Dalot is playing on the left because he's more of the defender, and then you have Diallo playing on the right because he almost becomes like the other winger. Mount becomes like almost like a cam in some sense, right? Behind the striker, and then you have the striker. Like there's a balance to the system. If you put Dalot on the right, he's more the defensive. Then you have like a winger playing wing back, and then you also have Garnacho. So it's like it becomes a little bit more unbalanced. So Lion says goal scorers Bruno, Højlund, and Diallo. Well, let's see who starts because again, we don't know for sure. There's going to be some rotation. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Garnacho doesn't necessarily start. Maybe. I don't know. We gotta see because he's talked about rotation and stuff like that, and he's talked about managing minutes. So I don't know. You know, maybe Garnacho doesn't start, and maybe he goes in a different way. So we gotta see. But yeah, I'll call the goal scorers when I see the lineup because I don't even know who's really gonna play. What I would tell him is Rasmus Højlund, striker, start him for sure. And play him, you know, manage minutes, play him 60 minutes. And hopefully we have the lead by the time you hit that point in time and sub him out and put whoever else you got to put there. That's for sure. Rashford if we win 4-1. Well, I hope so. Rashford's been struggling, so we need some better productivity from him. So hopefully he picks it up at some point. But we'll catch you later. We'll catch you on the next one. We'll see you Sunday. It's an early one. So it'll be an early stream as well. After the match. So be good. It is exciting. It is exciting. It's time to be excited now. So hopefully we get the 3 points and we move up in the table as well. But everybody enjoy the rest of your nights and your Saturdays, and we will catch you later. Take care.